one thing notice, as you're looking at these race cars, look, what do we see? We see cloud cover. There's shaded racetrack. So quite possibly, just like Indianapolis, we could have a little bit quicker times now. We see the sun in turn 3. This racetrack is so big. You can have shade in one part and sun in the other, but there is shade around the majority of this racetrack.
I've been at this racetrack where people have said it is pouring in turn number 2 and the sun was shining on the front stretch.
I won a race at this racetrack and it's pouring only in turn 2. Turn 2 was enough, and I was very thankful because of it. Matt Kenseth here, we talked about him at the top of the show, just didn't have the pace that we expected out of this 20 car. We've talked about the Joe Gibbs Toyotas, how successful they've been. 3 of them seem to be very fast. Matt Kenseth, though, has struggled really all day. You see almost 0.5 of a second, although he's gained a little bit of time back off turn 3. I think this lap time will be good enough, but not the speed we're normally seeing out of that. When you see right behind it, Martin Truex, almost maybe a little toe right there.
Is that a draft? Are we seeing Martin Truex Jr. get a little bit of an advantage because of a draft?
You would think you would want that, but it seemed to be okay for the 78.
Martin Truex Jr. is fastest now in this session. Once again, the cut line will be at 24. The top 24 will advance into round 2. Ryan Blaney goes to second fastest.
Case of game right here. We have some awesome cameras we're going to show you later in the weekend. We have his foot cam and show him shifting and how busy his feet are. And he jumps up to 9th quick right here as Jimmy Johnson, his teammate, goes to 4th quick.
231 car Ryan Newman, he showed speed in practice. He was 9th fastest. His teammate has one teammate, Dylan, in 8th. His other teammate, Bernard, in 6th.
And again, this solid round will be 20 minutes. Just under 12.5 minutes left. And still the 18 of Kyle Busch trying to finish up work in inspection. You see him standing waiting until it gets through the laser inspection.
And that could be a stressful situation. You see his teammate, the 19 of Carl Edwards, starting his lap right here. Kurt Busch, surprisingly close again. We saw the 78. This is a huge racetrack. You would think you would want more clean air than that, Jeff. In the race, we see cars slow down 2 or 3 tenths of a second when they get that close to a car. So I'm really surprised Kurt Busch decided to be that close to the 19 car.
Carl Edwards looking good as far as the pole, or at least in this round, looking the fastest.
Oh, he got through the tunnel turn really well. That feels good as a driver when you nail the tunnel turn. It just makes gripping, being the throttle, such a fun corner.
Big gains as he goes through turn 3. Carl Edwards comes out onto the front stretch, and he is in the green.
And there's a bunch of cars out there right there as Edward goes to 1st, Kurt Busch to 12th. Joey Logano looks like he's going to be in the top 24 if he stays on the pace he is. We're going to start moving that cut line very quickly.
I said Gordon was probably pretty good when he ran that lap, but he's down to 20th. So I'm not so sure that is good. I don't know that he'll get bumped, but if cars can go faster the second time out, that moves Gordon to 21st. As Logano goes to 5th, then that'll force the 88 and Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Matt Kenseth, Bithell. That'll force them to go again if indeed people can go faster the second time out.
Kyle Busch is yet to go. Jeb Burton, Brian Scott, Reed Sorensen. 4 cars that haven't been on the track yet. As we see the 18 clearing through inspection. Now they'll do the final things that they have to do prior to getting them out on track.
So to keep it simple, Rick, basically to go across that platform that measures your car, the laser platform, the teams have to put basically blocks in the suspension, holding the car up to the ride heights of 6 inches and 8 inches. Now they're allowed to remove those. This is all your work you're going to see done. The big concern right now is everybody take a deep breath. We have 10 minutes. Let's not leave something in that's not supposed to be. Leave something unhooked that we're supposed to hook up. Tire man, make sure we get the tire pressures correct, not transpose numbers. We know we have speed. We have confidence. This 18 car, we heard Kyle Busch talk about it. Man, he has a lot of good feeling in his race car. Let's just get a good solid lap in and try to get to that top 24.
But remember, the last time this car was on the racetrack, it had the camber in it that you just had to take out. So the reason that the team's trying to max camber out is because it makes the car drive better. So with the adjustment that had to be made, this car possibly is not going to be as good as it once was because they had to take the camber out, and that's not what you want to do. A lot of that goes back. We heard Scott Miller talk about the platform wasn't working before practice. So this car could have gone to submit and say, hey, are we okay? And it not being able to tell if they were okay. So they didn't know. You wouldn't go into practice knowing that you had something you couldn't qualify. You wouldn't do that. So this surprised them that the camera wasn't where it needed to be.
And Rick, the reason I said what I did about cars out here, you know, relatively close to one another, is because downforce and side force and aerodynamics at this big racetrack are so important that I would expect qualifying these cars would try to run by themselves.
You mentioned side force. Let's look at the NASCAR Heat Evolution animation and show you a little more detail about side force.
So yeah, as we put our car in the wind tunnel, you see right here the air going over the front of the car. Well, when the car is coming straight at you, you see how the air trails efficiently down the side of the car. Pretty smooth, comes off the right front fender, down the side. There's not a whole lot to it. But then what we'll do is we'll turn the car, Jeff, put some angle in the car, some skew.
Yeah, this is when the car starts to drive good, because now that air is being forced onto the back of the car. So on the back of the quarter panel, but also onto the spoiler. So when we see these cars go down the straightaway, it looks like they're going crooked. This is why. It's by design. Side force, in many ways, makes the car drive better, and it's more important than downforce. You want both. You want to maximize that side force and downforce. But if you don't have the side force right, the car is very insecure. It's hard to get it in the corner the way you want. It is security. That's what side force provides you: grip and security, and that equals speed.
And a reminder, NASCAR Heat Evolution is released on September 13th. Pre-orders are available online now at NASCARHeat.com. You're leaning on that side force.
Think of it like a crutch, Rick. That's really the best way to think about it. You know, your downforce is kind of the weight in your sneakers pushing down. You have traction. You're not slipping and sliding. But now when you try to make a circle, you want to slide in one direction. So you lean on that like a crutch. And a good car built with a lot of side force, has a more sturdy crutch. You can really put a lot of weight on it. The driver can really tug on the wheel. And that's what we see in traffic. When that car comes up to the right side, that side force goes away. Guess what they do? They kick that crutch out, and the car goes spinning up the racetrack.
We saw one of the crew members just take off sprinting because they knew that they needed something else with that 18 before he was able to go out on track.
And Steve, I think the advantage in side force is that it allows you to set the car up freer. It allows you to set the car up so it turns, because the car now turns, but it still has rear security. And that's the compromise in racing, is that you get a car to turn, but now it's too loose. So with side force, you can actually set the car up looser, and the back of the car is held by the air, and that allows the car to turn better and make more grip.
And Rick, this 46, so Michael Annett is the teammate to Clint Boyer. But that's some personnel changes at Harry Scott Motorsports. Jay Guy was, as you heard, an ugly sound out of the 46. I don't know if he missed a downshift there, didn't get the RPMs right, but it definitely was a little miss at the tailpipe. But this 46 team has a new crew chief with Mike Hillman Jr. Jay Guy, the former crew chief, was promoted to technical director of Harry Scott Motorsports. He will work with Steve Addington to try to improve the performance on both cars. You see Chris Buescher in the green trying to move up into the top 24. This is our first car to go back on the racetrack, Jeff.
That's right. He's 25th. He's just below the cut line to try to transfer into round 2. So this car right here is critical for everybody on pit road with 6 minutes left. He's going to push himself into the top. Where does he end up? He ends up 23rd. That moves mirrors out, but that tells everybody on pit road you can run faster on the second time out. So that means Biffle, Kenseth, all these guys have to assume that they're going to have to go again. If not, they may get bumped.
Well, and then Eric Almirola's car right there in 24th. With Kyle Busch on the racetrack, I'd be getting my stuff ready, because I'm pretty confident that Eric Almirola will be moving below the bump line. You see on the left side of your screen, we basically shifted the scoring of the top 15 aren't shown. We all feel the top 15 has a pretty good chance of being in, but 16th to 24th, all of those drivers who are currently in have to be concerned, because if drivers below the cut line can go out and run faster, then it's going to shift the line down. We have some big names there. We have Danica Patrick, Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, all just above the cut line.
The advantage to Patrick and Gordon is that Buescher directly behind him. He doesn't have time to go out and run again. So even if you can bump him out, he can't come counter you. He can't come back beat you again because there's not enough time. They can't cool it down in time and cool the tires down, I don't think, and still get a lap time in it. So that's a little bit of an advantage to those guys, a car that cannot go back out and beat them.
We're comparing Kyle Busch's run to actual Carl Edwards, who's run the fastest lap. He's only a tenth of a second off that fastest lap, well in the top 24 right now.
Yeah, Carl Edwards has 7 or 8 tenths of a second over 24. So Kyle Busch, barring a major mistake here off turn 3, will easily be in the top 24. And that's why you see on the left side of your screen those little green dots next to the names: Mears, McDowell, Smith, Stenhouse, Bain. Those drivers know they need to go out and try to improve.
Chris Buescher now on the cut line because Eric Almirola has dropped down to 25th. Kyle Busch was 5th quickest on that run with just under 5 minutes to go in qualifying when he got out on the racetrack. Back to Benedetto, back out on the track, trying to break into the top 24. Steam coming out at the base of the windshield.
And that's what we talked about, Rick. Long laps here. So if the crew chiefs decide to keep the tape on the front of the car, which you need to do for speed, you can overheat and actually push a little water out. Ricky Stenhouse sparking as he goes through the tunnel corner, but gets through the tunnel corner really well. Look at him, 2.5, almost 3 tenths better than Chris Buescher. Looking for a big improvement out of the 17 car.
The second lap for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. quite a bit better than his first run.
And this is really going to be a big difference because Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is currently 34th. If he jumps all the way up to the top 24, we're going to see, and he does, all the way to 14th. That's really going to start shaking up the lineup.
It's Danica Patrick now on the cut line, and you see Casey Mears also 0.2 of a second to the good.
This is going to move Danica Patrick and put Jeff Gordon on the bubble, it looks like.
Yeah, and if I'm Jeff Gordon, I think I'm going to rerun because I see cars that perhaps can bump us out. Danica Patrick, you know, is going to rerun, and I don't think you can wait. She's probably going to be one of the last cars on the racetrack as we see the 15 of Clint Boyer now on the racetrack.
The cars that aren't in, that have a chance to go faster, in my opinion, you got Almirola. That's a good team. You got Trevor Bayne in the 6th car. You just saw his teammate be able to do it. So if you're Jeff Gordon, even if you're Matt Kenseth in 23rd, I have to assume that you got to assume that you're going to have to go again.